What is your intention for this interview?
Just to spread the word, just to help spread the word. There are things that run this planet, that control this planet, and they're not entirely human.
Frank, appreciate you coming out, man. Appreciate your time and energy, man. Let's get right to it, man. Let's start off. Let's talk about your upbringing, your childhood, and whatnot.
So I'm born and raised here in California, Northern California, actually. And I was brought up, just kind of relatively the same as anybody else. Actually, when I was 5 or 6 years old, I went back to China. I went back for school, actually, funny enough. And,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I stayed there for 2 years. My family that lives in China, they live up north in northern China. And so at the time, it was kind of rural. So it was a really interesting experience for me being born here in California. And then at around 5 or 6, going there. And I spent 1st and 2nd grade there. And then I came back here around 3rd grade when I was 9. For me, I really didn't enjoy my time there, especially as a child, going from here at such an early age where it's like important, you're growing up, you're learning about the world, and you're building your own perspective on what the world is, and then you hop over to alien country.
Right.
And for a kid, I mean, that was quite the experience.
Quite a shock, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the elements, because I see you as, someone that's very, very, in tune with their spirituality. Take me into the elements in the household. Was that something that was present growing up with your family?
No religion, no spirituality, no nothing. Besides the occasional Sunday church that I would go to, but that wasn't even because we were super religious. That was just to meet people, because it was a gathering place. A lot of people went to church. So when I was a kid, my mother took us to church every now and then, but not too much spirituality, no. And in China, in Asian culture, if you look back what happened in the Cultural Revolution, when Mao came into power, he banned any form of religion, spiritual practice, anything. That carries on, through in my family with my parents and relatives, etc. So growing up, I never had any exposure to any of that besides the occasional Sunday church.
Okay. Have you been in tune with your spirituality growing up young, or is this something that was kind of developed over time?
If I were to go back in time and you were to tell me, or talk to a 9-year-old Frank, you would say, hey, you're going to be doing this, and you're going to I would look at you like, oh no, you're crazy,
Right.
I never, at a young age, I never thought I'd get involved in it. But it's funny that you mentioned that, because I always knew at a young age that I would be doing something different. I knew there was something kind of in store for me that would be different from the norm, the status quo. Yeah, I just didn't know what that would manifest into.
Were there instances in your childhood growing up where you've kind of experienced things that you kind of maybe shrugged off or pushed to the side?
There were a few, absolutely. And they weren't so much metaphysical. They were metaphysical, but they were actually visitations. From ETs, from other people that I had at the time, and I remember looking back at it at the time. I thought, well, that was awkward. That was not normal. But I was a kid, so I didn't think much of it. I just kept going. One instance I like to talk about is when I was a 9-year-old kid. One night, my mother takes me and my brother to the public library. We're going there to get books. We're going there to get, stuff like that, whatever. And there was a gentleman there, waiting for me. He knew I was going to be there. He looked like any other typical, guy wearing, jeans and a shirt. Very typical looking. But when I walked in, he was standing there just waiting for me. And when he saw me, he just kind of stared me down. I was a 9-year-old kid, just looking at me, just staring, just glaring, and almost in an aggressive way, but not really, just had strong intention behind it. I didn't make nothing of it. I saw it, and I just kept going. I was like, okay, whatever. And lo and behold, that was a guy from a ship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, they have crazy technology. They can pop in, give the appearance of a human, whatever, wearing a suit or a shirt and pop in, pop out, no problem for them. It's very easy. That was my first official visitation that I can remember.
So is that something that you knew then, that he wasn't from,
At that very moment, I was just like weirded out.
Yeah.
That was just a weird thing for, you know, a child that, like, I mean, this guy was like, you know, just. And at the very most, I just thought that was a weird occurrence. I didn't know that that was what the case was until after.
Right.
Long after.
Wow.
You know, he came in, paid me a visit. He was a friend. He was friendly, and he knew who I was because I've had past lives with groups of ETs, etc., and kind of go around helping people. So he saw me here now. He saw what my future would eventually turn out to be, what I would eventually do. And so he just came in, you know, really early on in my life, just giving me a visit, saying hi, you know.
The visitations, were they something that was reoccurring as a child, or it was just kind of like case by case, you know, here and there?
If I really look into it, I think I could pick up more. That one was actually picked up by Jay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was the one that saw that, and he was explaining it to me in a consultation, and I was like, yeah, that happened when I was 9. How the hell do you know? You know, like I was just, I was baffled.
So take me along. You're a regular kid in Modesto, you know what I mean? You're going through your adolescence. Take me through the times of, like, you know, your young adulthood.
Out of high school, I was kind of like, okay, what the hell am I going to do now? You know, I knew I wanted to get involved in computers. I knew I needed to go to school, you know, study a profession, get a job. But I also knew in the back of my head that wasn't my end game. But I knew I had to do it at the time. So I was, you know, in high school I was kind of a jock. You know, I loved sports. I swam. I loved aquatic sports. I did water polo, swimming. I also did wrestling. I loved just being physically active during that time. So I was a total jock. And, I was doing the same things, you know, anybody else in high school was doing, like going out partying, you know, drinking, smoking, whatever. Yeah. And that, for me, that got to a point where I was like, all right, I really need to stop doing this. I did that for a couple of years, right? Junior, senior, and after that, you know, still. But I realized, I'm like, all right, I got to do something with my life here. You know, this is not an end game. This is not, you know, this is not something that anybody can sustain, you know. But during that time, I was waking up. I was really coming alive around when I was around 19 or 20. So I'm 27 now, so that's what, 2011, 2012, around there, you know.
Now, was that something like you developed in college, like because you had like a freedom in college, or was that something that you just kind of?
That was just, no, not really. That was just like an interest that just kind of took hold.
It came to you.
Yeah, exactly. It just came out of nowhere, and then I just kind of went with it. You know, that was totally made to be like that.
Okay. What were some of the first instances where you realized that you were going through a change and kind of, you know, starting to develop?
When I realized that this is more than just an interest. And I realized that, okay, I'm gonna actually try and go forward with this. First, you start off, you get your toes wet with whatever you do, right? And then you just, okay, maybe you have an interest, and you go further into it. And when I got further into it, I realized, okay, this is more than just me being an enthusiast. This is I'm going for it now. And that was around 2012, 2013. Okay. When I started dabbing into many different topics of esoteric, spirituality, metaphysical stuff, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, just experiencing, tasting everything, seeing what resonates with me.
The things that you were kind of tasting, was that literature? Was that
audiobooks?
You know, meditations?
All the above.
Talk about some of those things.
Literature, so select people, they, you know, call themselves gurus or teachers or whatever. And I was just kind of gravitating towards people and maybe literature and books, studies, just different things. And I would just kind of go for that and get what I could from it, knowledge-wise, you know.
Right, absolutely.
People sometimes they just cling on to what they originally studied, and they cling on to it, and they don't want to really keep an open mind to other possibilities, and that mixed in with the fact that there's just so much stuff and there's so much just sensationalized kind of just BS in this field, it just creates an issue. In
taking on all these things and you know, and going and trying this and trying that and kind of reading this and reading that, how did you use your discernment, like in deciding, you know, this is what resonates with me and whatnot?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's discernment is what it's all about. And I found that whatever I got into, only pieces I resonated with. So like I would take what I really resonated with and then just kind of leave the rest. You know, I would see what this person or this teaching or this study was offering to people, and I would say, well, you know, this is just too much, but this is pretty nice, it's practical, you know. Right. And that's what I was doing with everything. It's just like, okay, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, build my own truth from that.
So I know a lot of people that I've spoken with and whatnot that have been on their spiritual path for however long years and whatnot. They always talk about this defining moment that kind of like flipped the switch from, or like when the veil dropped. Did you have an instance?
Absolutely. Okay. When I started seeing metaphysically with my head, that was because you know, like you can meditate, you can do all this, and then but you want results, right? You want to see something like you said, a defining moment. And every night I would turn the lights off before I go to bed. I would make my room pitch black, dark, and then I would actually put a blindfold on in the darkness and do a little like meditation, 5-10 minutes, and then go to sleep. And I kept doing that over and over until I started going for like an hour, you know, just really meditating, really relaxing, really deep. I mean, you're like on cloud 9 at that point. Okay, yeah. But at one point in my meditation, I started seeing stuff in my head. Like it wasn't me making it up. It was, I would just be, you know, sitting there doing my thing, eyes closed. All of a sudden, images start popping up, and I'd be like, "What the hell? You know, what's all this?" And that was it right there. That was like, that made me realize, okay, there's a whole another world out there that beyond the physical, you know.
So when you talk about seeing and whatnot, you're not seeing physically. You're seeing.
It's in your head.
It's an inner clairvoyance, you would call it, or?
It's not clairvoyance. You know, there's all these clairaudience, clairvoyance. Okay. Clairvoyance talks more about the ability to get messages. People that call themselves psychics or mediums, that's more clairvoyance. It's just like when I say seeing, it's not physical eyes. It's metaphysical vision. Wow. So you're not seeing with your eyes at all. It's different glands in the brain that actually generate those images, and people that can see auras and stuff like that. That's where all that comes from. Yeah.
So what glands, I guess, work with being able to see then?
There's a couple of them. Everybody knows about the pineal gland, you know, but there's much more. There's the pituitary gland that works with the pineal. There's your hypothalamus, which is just like a small little razor. I mean, they're all like small little muscles in your brain, you know, physical. And hypothalamus has to do with like understanding. And then there's also your energy fields in the brain that also work with the physical glands. There's the scanner, which is remote viewing. Remote viewing is separate. What the people have this, they think that the pineal gland generates remote viewing. Actually, it's not. It's the scanner, which is like around here in your forehead.
What are some of the images that you began to see and whatnot during this time? Or
you know, I would have this face, like a humanish female face that would just pop up and like boom, as I'm, you know, like my eyes are shut and closed, and then all of a sudden I would just see this freaking face right in front of me, you know, fine detail. Yeah. And I would just be like, what the hell, you know? I'm not imagining this in my brain. I'm not like saying, oh, I imagine you know, no, like I'm just sitting there relaxing, doing a meditation, and all of a sudden the female face pops up. Yeah. And I'm just like, what the hell is that? Yeah. That was my spirit guide, actually. She was making herself shown. Yeah, that was her just making herself shown. And that was like the first image that I was really seeing was that face. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. So you're a firm believer in spirit guides and I guess what people will call another dimensions, the other side. How do you define that? What is?
I mean, there's a lot of definitions. And there's a lot out there when it comes to dimensions. The other side is really just us when we're home. You know, religions call it heaven. Okay. Right. And there is no such thing as hell. Really, no such thing as heaven either. But the whole concept of heaven is that you die and you go to a place that's better. Well, the other side is much better because you know your energy, your true self, and that's where we go as energy. That's where we live. That's our home. Okay. as spirit, you know. That's where we're actually alive, not really in these physical bodies. We come in here, we have life, you know. We've had many, many, many lives. You can look at any person walking down the street, and I guarantee you that person has probably had a minimum of 100,000, maybe 200,000 lives.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. My definition, very simple, is just like, you know, the other side is our home, and it is a different dimension. You know, it's not the third dimension is physical.
Okay.
On the other side, we're energy. There's not much physical anything. It's just all energy. It's all spirit.
When you started to wake up and you started to be able to see and whatnot, is there something like, did you start encountering ETs more then too? Or?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I was meditating one day, and one night actually, and this big figure appeared in front of me. The head looked like a if you were to imagine like a lizard standing upright, you know.
Oh, wow.
Big, like a miniature Godzilla.
Okay. Yeah.
But clearly sentient, clearly aware of what I was doing, came to me when I was meditating, and I was looking at this. It was a female, actually. I was looking at her with my hoodie on. She's looking at me, and I'm really frantic, just kind of like trying to getting my attention. I could see all this in my head, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? What's all this about, you know? And she wanted to talk. I thought it was an act of aggression or something at first, because I wasn't used to seeing an ET face, you know.
Right.
And that was a lady. She was living out near Alaska, but in the underground bases. A lot of these people, a lot of the ETs that are here, people always say, well, you know, when are the ETs coming? They're coming from space. Actually, they've been living here for a long time, underground, you know. And they have the technology to sustain themselves doing that, and they'd rather live down there than on the surface. So
why is that, you think?
Down there, you're not exposed to all the elements. You know, it's kind of like why do we build houses, right? Why do we live? Why not just live, you know, on the street or exposed? Because, you know, to protect yourself from the elements, you know. So you live in a house. It's the same thing as like you go down to the surface. You're not, and if you have the technology, you can. There's big bases underground, big. I mean, mile long. There's cities, you know.
Wow.
And I'm not talking about like military, you know. What they call them, like dumbs, deep underground. I'm not talking about military stuff. I'm talking about actual living quarters where it's like, but there is military stuff, but I'm talking about actual living quarters where it's like a city.
Wow. And
they just live, they go to school, you know, it's all down there.
Wow. Are there many different races of ETs, or what?
There's some, like if you just look at the Earth, you know, look at all the different species of life on the Earth.
Okay.
You know, so look at how different we are to a starfish, for example. The same concept applies for out there. You know, there's so many different races of ETs and different body types. You have your humanoid type, you know, standing upright, 2 arms, 2 legs. You have a lot of that out there. You have more human Nordic looking people. You have reptilian people with, you know, scaly skin. You have grays, you know, the Spiritualians. Well, we call them Spiritualians because that's actually the planet they're from. But when I say Serpolians, I'm talking about grays, the little, you know, 3 foot.
So like the typical gray face, black eyes.
Almond, you know,
Okay.
But they're actually called Serpolians, and that's actually the name our government secretly gave them. You know, the CIA gave them that because they're from planet Serpo.
Wow.
And their skin is gray because they have 2 suns. You know, it really screws up your skin. And then you have amphibious beings, you know, like... not so much like a mermaid, but humanoid mixed in with some kind of, you know, amphibious sea creature, and they're all intelligent. You know, the beings I'm talking about here, they're all very intelligent. You have insectoids as well, beings that look like a upright praying mantis, an upright ant. You know, and these types, these species of life I'm talking about, they're not just like a you know, like an insect or something. You know, they have intelligence, and they're much more advanced and smarter than we are by millions and millions of years. You know, they travel the stars, no problem. We're just now shooting rockets to Mars. You know, they go around.
That says a lot.
Yeah, they come here. You know, the things that run this planet and have controlled this planet for a long time, the things that run the government for a long, long time, they've been here.
So when you talk about the government being run by another species, what species are you exactly talking about?
For a long time, there was what people call reptilians, in control, working with very high up people in the governments, controlling everything. There's different separate clans. Here in California, we had a major one. California is a big key in all of this. Probably the reason why it's such a big state,
right.
with a real high influence in the world. They were what you call reptilians, but their actual name was Anunnaki.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're not bad people at all. They're very good people. They're just. We had a group of kind of not so nice, like you have bad apples in any basket, right? And we had a group of I guess what you would want to call pirates. They came here to this planet on ships a long time ago, and at first when they came here, they were friendly, but then they wanted to take over. They got power hungry, and the result of pretty much what you see today is their doing. They're not really in power so much anymore. Right now, we have people kind of like just kind of bouncing around trying to get control, but they were the ones behind the scenes. The real power you're never gonna hear of. You're never gonna, they're behind the scenes. They're in the shadows.
Right. How I came across you was through Jay Essex and the Spiritual Foundation and whatnot. Can you talk about how you were first introduced to Jay and the Spiritual Foundation? And
absolutely. My stepdad knew what I was doing. He knew I was involved, getting interested in all this government stuff, secret government stuff, and all this ETs and spirituality. He was never into it. He never really cared, but he kept an open mind.
Right.
So and one day he was like, "Hey Frank, I saw this video talking about super soldiers, yada yada yada. Maybe you should check it out." So I was like, "All right, whatever." I didn't care for it at the time. So he told me about this, and then later on I actually looked it up. I saw the video he was talking about with a lady just talking, and for some reason on the side on my recommended videos I saw photo of Jay, old man in overalls, and I just felt a really strong urge to check him out, and I just had this strong knowing, like, okay, there's something here with this guy. I don't know much about him, but what he says resonates with me. Everything he's saying, talking about, doing, etc. I'm like, yeah, that's it. I don't know. Like, if you asked me to prove it in a court, I couldn't prove it in a court. But it just it's a gut intuition, right? Yeah. And I just knew, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go with this guy. So I looked into him a little bit, and then he was doing spiritual consultations at the time. He was doing what calling them crank ups, where he enhances your energy. I called him up right away. I didn't hesitate. I thought it was very interesting that I had that reaction for him, and I'm so happy I did, because through that came everything I am today.
What is a crank up?
A crank up is where somebody takes their own energy and puts it inside of you, enhancing you, enhancing your energy, your power level, your spirit, etc. And it takes a real special person to do this. And doesn't mean they're better than somebody else, but it does take somebody who's got source energy to do this. And there's a lot of misconceptions with the word source out there in the New Age and spiritual community. But what it really means is somebody whose spirit has all the different frequencies of everything out there. Animals are not like animals have a different type of spirit. Animals, human, planetary, etc. They have everything in them, and their power level is strong enough to where they can work on you, make your energy stronger, wake up your abilities, help you see better. People that are mediums and psychics, whatever, they can do this, they can get this done, and it can really take their work to the next level.
How did that affect your abilities to see and whatnot right off the bat when you got the crank up?
It took some time to settle in. It was really intensive energy work, and it took some time. And then after a couple of months, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm seeing, I'm flowing a lot better. Everything is just coming in faster. I'm getting more messages, etc. I'm more open, you know.
Okay.
More and more I live and walk in not just this world, but also, you know, the other side, spirit, metaphysical world.
Right.
So, yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed that you talk about frequently is stone energy. Can you talk about, expand on like what exactly you mean by that, like working with stone energy, how to work with it, and you know how it affects the body and the spirit?
Stone energy, it's like vitamins to your energy body, right? People have a lot of misconceptions. You know, they think stones are going to heal an open wound, or they're magically going to bring money to you. You know, none of that is true. It's much more simple. Stone energy, each stone has different frequencies of a different energy makeup, etc. They all come from Gaia. They all have Gaia's spirit inside of them, but they have their own unique individual stone. Like, for example, this is a beautiful piece of selenite right here, right? Selenite is a very high vibration stone. It's an activator. It kind of gets your energy flowing, versus something like this smoky quartz point. You know, these smoky quartz. Smoky quartz is calming. It's relaxing. It helps you relax. It takes your energy and just kind of brings it down, and just, you know, at the same time, it gives you clarity. Because that's what clear quartz does. Clear quartz is all about clarity. It helps you see, it gives you clarity of mental clarity, basically, of thought and also vision. And so stones each have their own different individual characteristics, their own different, you know, energy, and they all help us out in one way or another.
Okay. So going back to waking up, getting the crank up, whatnot, I'm sure like it couldn't have all just been, you know, fine and dandy, I'm waking up and this is all going good. What were some of the things that you've had to work on, you know, doing inner work, or things that you've encountered and whatnot that have forced you to grow?
Absolutely. I mean, there's, you know, nothing in life is easy. It doesn't matter if you're a mechanic or an engineer, you know, like nothing in life comes simple. And with this field, because of what it is, and because there's no set structure for any of this, you know, most of this is looked down upon as taboo, as, you know, just like, you're getting involved in witchcraft or something, you know, and it's looked down upon as like a cultish type of stuff. And there's a lot of, you know, self-doubt involved there. I was a lot of questioning of, you know, I doubted myself. I was questioning myself, like, you know, is this worth it? Is, you know, a lot of that happens, especially in this field, because it's just so, you know, it's all new. It's new territory. Actually, it's old because it's part of who we are, and metaphysical stuff has always been in our DNA, you know. And but it's new in the sense that people are just waking up now, and there is no, you know, structure. There is no nothing. You're just kind of on your own doing it, and you just, whatever you make of it is whatever you make of it, you know.
So how did you get over that self-doubt?
You know, just still not completely over it, but but you know, it's
a process,
just it's a process, and it's just working on just being true to yourself. Because whatever you do in life, you're gonna have people naysayers. You're gonna have people, you know, that are just gonna put you down, whatever. And I've realized, just, you know, you block all that out. Don't listen to your inner voice, not external, you know.
So now you're teaching people how to wake up. You're teaching people how to get in tune with the metaphysical side of them, their spirit and whatnot. What are some of the things that you're teaching in your consultations and in your courses and whatnot?
Consultations are spiritual advice that I give people to help them wake up. I look into the energy. People always have questions like, what was I doing in a past life? You know, when am I? You know, very typical question is like, you know, when am I going to meet somebody? A lot of women ask me, when am I going to meet, you know, a guy or something? Men ask me the same thing. And consultations are more just personal advice, versus my other classes where I actually give courses, very tailored courses specific to like seeing, for example, like teaching people how to remote view, teaching people how to use their heart energy or their solar plexus, gut intuition, or how to use their pineal to astral project. You know, that stuff is more tailored. That stuff is more like a class, versus the consultation is just like a personal advice. You know, it's like I tell you about yourself, so you can take that and go with it, you know, and further progress your own spirituality, your own awakening.
What is the best advice you have for somebody that's waking up?
Relax.
Relax.
Yeah, you got to relax.
What do you mean by that?
You have to, you know, you have to flow inside yourself. You call it meditation. I just call it relaxing. Meditation is really close to medication, and you don't need medication. You just need to just kind of flow in, relax, calm down, flow inside yourself, and flow out. And it's all just energy. And then from there, whatever happens, happens. That's how I got started, and that's how if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be here today. And it's very simple. Just take 5-10 minutes. I know we all live hectic lives, right? We all have stuff going on in our jobs, at home, family, friends, etc. If you can just take 5 to 10 minutes of just you time, just quiet. You're in a room, nobody's around you, no screaming kids, no houses are on fire. You're just sitting there. You just relax, close your eyes, and just flow inside yourself. That's all you need to do. Yeah, and that's where it starts.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.